It was a business that I knew could make over, around about £200,000 a year, and I bought it for 20 grand. Fast forward 18 months, and we're currently making nearly 140 something thousand pound we're making from that business, and all I've ever put in is 20,000.
So Dean, we met on part one of this podcast, and we talked about the deal that you did within a few sessions of you and I having some mentoring conversations, and we talked about your goals, and we talked about the deal that you did. And I'd like to dive into that a little bit deeper and talk about the numbers. What happened? How did you structure it? How did you make the deal happen?
Yeah, so I'm the world's worst negotiator. So they wanted £80,000. And I was like, as soon as I said 80,000, I was like, it's worth more than that. And I said, right, okay, 80,000, right, okay. Didn't give too much away. And I said, right, so what terms? Over how long? I can't remember the exact script, but you told me exactly what to say. And you said, Dean, shut up, don't say anything. So I didn't say anything. And he said, well, half now, half over 3 years. And I ended up paying 90,000, £10,000 more, because I offered him £10,000 more. Why would you do that?
But you felt as though it was such a good deal regardless. You wanted the guy to be happy, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew it was a good deal. And like I say, it was, I knew there was a couple of tweaks he could make. And it was a difference of him walking away with over $500,000 and him walking away with 90,000. So, and I said, rather than pay you over 3 years, I'll pay you over 2 years, because he looked like death warmed up, bless him. And I thought, it might not even last 3 years. And this is his dream. I mean, this is the difference, because people have different dreams.
So you negotiated the price up, you negotiated the terms down. Okay, got it.
Yep. Right. So I did really good. So Jonathan didn't teach me to do that, by the way. And
no, I definitely didn't.
And I said, right, okay. So what's in the bank account? He said, 25,000. And obviously, I'm buying the business, so that comes with it. But I just presumed that he would take this out at some point, and no, he never did. And so all I had to do was deposit £20,000 of my own money on day one, and I got the business. And it was a business that I knew could make over, around about £200,000 a year, and I bought it for 20 grand. Fast forward 18 months, and we're currently making nearly 140 something thousand pound we're making from that business, and all I've ever put in is 20,000. And the great thing is, it cash flows every single month, and that helps fund other sites now as well. So it's been a cash flow positive. Everything's been positive about it.
So despite the negotiating technique needing a little bit of work, it actually worked out okay.
Yeah, I actually remember telling you, and I was like, oh no, I've got to tell Jonathan, because we'd gone backwards and forwards with, I think it was emails with Maria, and telling them how much you want. I said, I've got to tell them I paid the extra 90,000, and he just looked at me and goes, why? I was like, because this and this, and you actually said, oh, okay then, okay, fair enough. I don't know if I'd have done that, but fair enough.
Well, that was all I could say, because the deal had been done at that point. So that first acquisition, what happened the very first day of ownership?
It was a bit more of a mess than we realised, but I've got a great team. I've got a girl called Angela who won the Manager of the Year for self-storage, and so she went in there, had a look at it. There was health and safety issues that we quickly found out. There was some units that weren't paying that he said was paying, because exactly what you said. It was a small business. There was no software connected to the business. It was all done on spreadsheets, and so a lot of it had to be done on a lot of trust, because I asked him questions. I had no idea. His accounting, exactly what you say, a small business owner, so his accounts don't get done till 9 months after the end of the year. And so It's irrelevant. What's happened then is irrelevant.
Yes.
And I kept saying, what percentage full AA? He was telling me these figures, and it turned out that nearly everything he told me was incorrect, but it wasn't malicious. It was just because he was just
bad management.
A bad business owner, yeah. Just he didn't understand the fundamentals of business or self-storage, and it just so happens that self-storage, you don't have to be good to make money. And so he was just in that situation where he was telling me it was making 10,000, and it wasn't. But then we spoke to the landlord as well, and the landlord came down and he said, I don't know if you've noticed, to be honest, we missed it in the due diligence. The rent is increasing £10,000 next year, and £10,000 for a business that's not making any money is quite a substantial amount. And I was like, right, okay, we can swallow all this, it's okay. And then we quickly put our systems in. It was probably a couple of months hard work for the team, but after that, we put our systems in place, and we're very systematized, and we've got software that does most of it for us as well. So,
I mean, if you think about it, though, you didn't pay very much. I mean,
No.
you only put in 20K from your other business or from your existing business in to get the deal over the line. And you knew it was going to be a bit messy. It was messier than you realized it was going to be. And there was 2 months of really hard work to turn that around. To be fair, that's a pretty good swap, really. We're not going to pay very much money, but we're going to put an extra work in. I mean, with some businesses, you pay top dollar and you don't have to do absolutely anything whatsoever. But I think that you got a fair swap there.
Yeah, and a lot of the work was to make it manless as well, because before it was being manned, and so we just had to change things. We had to put a new gate system on. We had to put palisade fencing round, and so there was probably capital. I don't want to say we didn't spend any money, because we probably spent around about 20 grand somewhere on there on capital expenses to make sure that we can make it manless and therefore save money. Because at the time, customers could only get access to their belongings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 10 until 12, Thursday, Friday, but Friday not only until 3 p.m. and not over the weekend. I was like, how the hell have you run this business? And we soon made it 24 hours so people could come and go whenever they want, and they could open and operate the units themselves. And that part of it probably took a big part of the time as well. I just remembered another thing that he did. He was a hoarder. So sometimes people put stuff in storage and leave it. Mm-hmm. Just use it as a skip, if you like. And instead of getting rid of it, he put it on top of all the units, and there was 15 years of rubbish there. I said to him, listen, I said, you've got 9 months to get rid of it. Yeah, don't worry, I'll put it on Facebook. Try to sell it on Facebook. And in the end, this is the only time we nearly fell out, because he got to 12 months and he was maybe selling, a couple of quid's worth of stuff a week. And I was like, we can't keep doing this. And so I just said, right, this day it goes. And he said, you can't do that. I said, I've got a business to run. And that was the only thing that we had to get, like 2 massive 40-foot skips. That's how much it was. And we had to get rid of it all. Apart from that, we didn't really have any problems with him.
Surely that would have been a fire safety issue as well.
Yeah, it was everything. Yeah. Well, he didn't have a fire alarm, did he? So we would have never known.
We laugh about it now.
Oh, yeah.
So what about the people? I suppose there weren't that many staff to start off with, so you didn't have any sort of cultural issues or anything like that. So quite often, that's the biggest hurdle to get over when you buy a business, the integration of the cultures.
There was only him and his wife there running the site, because we couldn't get it manless straight away. We had to employ him as well, because he said, I don't mind working for you for a little bit. So we employed him, and that was probably the worst thing, because he saw the changes that we were making, and all of a sudden it's like a bit of a slap in the face that he's been running it for 15 years, and he'll see me as a young whippersnapper, thinks I know everything, and coming in and changing it. Oh, the customers won't want it manless. I'm like, well, we know that the customers don't mind it manless, and he just had an opinion about everything, and that it was actually a toxic relationship keeping him in the business, because any customer would come in, he would complain about us, ring us up and say, I've had such and such in, by the way, he's not happy the way you're doing things either. Well, do you know what? Like we said before, the market is the market, the figures are the figures. That the figures tell me if the customers are liking it or not, and we're increasing revenue, we're decreasing costs, and therefore we're making more profit. So I'm sure that some people don't like change, but others do. So we actually ended up paying the gate company more money to do it quicker, so we could get rid of him, because he was really, really toxic.
Oh, so his involvement was dependent upon the gate company doing all the automation and the keypads or whatever it would be.
Yeah, because that was the only way we could let people in. And so we had to get the automation there. And it was a couple of months of him being there, interfering, meddling. And bless him, I can understand why. That's why I always try to look at somebody else's point of view. And his point of view is that I'm undermining him. I mean, it literally is me saying that you've run this wrong for 15 years and we're changing a whole host of things. And he didn't like it. And in the end, because he was answering the phone to customers, so in the end we took the phone out, so he didn't have a phone there. He said, Dean, I want to speak to customers. I said, don't worry, we've got, all you've got to do is sit there. You don't have to do anything else. I'll even buy you a television if you want. Just sit there. Don't move. Don't talk to anybody. And so, we didn't let him talk to anybody. We diverted all the phones to our Hull office as well. That was a class of cultures, if you like.
And keeping the owner in the business is a discussion that we're always having in Mastermind about, do you keep the owner in, or do you let them go immediately? And I think it's one of those it depends answers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, it because it does depend. But it is true that the owners of smaller businesses do not want you to be more successful than them, because after 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, they don't want someone coming along and within 6 months doing better than they've done. So there is quite often this seller's resentment of the new owner. But then in some deals, actually keeping the owner in for that transition period is the very smartest thing you can do, because it smooths the way with customers and with suppliers. So, we've talked about deferring payment for the business. If the deferment is linked to the success of the business, then they have a vested interest in being very nice about you, because they want the business to be successful, because otherwise they don't get their money. And the more successful the business is, the faster they get their money. So I think it's all down to the way you do it. So would you do it differently next time?
I get what you're saying, because if you can keep them motivated, then it's better for all concerned. What I can do differently now is, because we're a bigger company, I can deploy a member of staff there to work there full time. And you know what? I'd have probably hired somebody as well straight away, because he was more harm than good. And it was almost like all we needed was some security, just to be there, just to make sure customers could access the goods. And so I'd have probably took it on the chin and thought, do you know what? A security company, £200-300 a day to sit there for, however many hours, 8 hours or whatever it is. Then I'd have probably done that. But I didn't really, at the time, I wasn't conscious that how he would feel. I just presumed he'd be happy because he's out of business, but he definitely wasn't happy, because it is shining a light on something that he's been his baby for 15 years. And we changed the colour of the building as well to green. And he kicked off. What are you doing to changing the colour of a building? You never told me you'd do that. What does it matter to you? You're actually moving to Portugal.
It's not your business anymore, and you're moving to Portugal.
I can't believe it. I have heard somebody else say it on the podcast before as well, and I was like, no, surely not. But yeah, he was really offended that we was going to change the colour
because
of the building.
There's so much emotion tied up in that business, because that's all he's been thinking about and doing for years. So seeing those changes are just uncomfortable for someone. We know that people don't like change. And when you make changes to someone's business, they just don't enjoy it.
I can see his point of view as well. I can see why he would get offended by it, because like you say, he's emotionally connected to that. All his life he's been there, 15 years, and that 15 years is connected to him with the building. And so all of a sudden you see something so tangible that you can see and physically touch, the building being changed to this green, garish green. And he was like, the landlord isn't going to be happy with you. And I'm always like, I ask forgiveness, not permission. I just do it. And worst case scenario, he'll tell me to paint it back. But the landlord actually liked it. He was okay with it, and then when we put containers in the yard as well, he was like, the landlord isn't going to like containers in the yard. Why isn't he? It's just what we've never had in all of our other 5 sites. They've all got containers in, because we maximise if there's area there, we want to maximise the revenue from it. And nobody else had problems with it. The landlord wasn't bothered at all. In fact, I think that because he sees us as a growing company, he doesn't mind the changes, because we're investing in his building. So therefore, it doesn't.
You're
doesn't
looking
matter.
after it.
Yeah, a lot more than he did as well.
Are you a business owner and you want to grow via acquisition? Then you need to be part of my Mastermind program, where we hold your hand all the way through the entire process to make sure that your first acquisition is a resounding success. I put some information in the video description below. Let's talk about business in general. Tell us some of the things that you've learned over the years, some of the rules, if you like, that you follow.
Yeah, one of the big rules for me is trying to find somebody who can do something for me rather than me do something, because I should only be doing something in business that nobody else should be doing, that nobody else can do. The strategy, the finding new sites, that sort of thing where nobody else can do. That's what I should be doing.
Yes.
And going back to what we said before, I 100% really believe it's in my core that everybody should have a mentor. Everybody should have somebody that keeps you accountable, because as a business owner, 1, it's lonely, but 2, you can get inside your own head as well. It's like an echo chamber in there, and you might be going down the wrong path. You might be thinking about something that's completely incorrect. And so then you just maybe need to talk to somebody and get advice from that person as well. And so, yeah, I'm a really big believer in them. Them 2 things spring to mind straight away.
That's really interesting. And I'm with you on the mentor as well, because I know that if I'd had someone in my very early 20s guide me then I would have progressed a lot faster, because there were some wilderness years in my early 20s where I didn't actually move forward. I kind of was in a bit of a holding pattern, and then it went into a slump, and then I got myself out of the slump just because I was desperate to have that change. But if someone had guided me from 18, 19, then my whole life would have accelerated.
Yeah. Do you know the biggest accelerator in my life, and I've said it on my podcast before, I was getting frustrated because I had one self-storage. It was doing okay. At the time, I didn't understand revenue management and stuff. This was like 8 years ago. And I've always been fascinated with coffee shops because of the growth in Costa, Starbucks. I've always been keeping an eye out for a coffee shop. Oh my God, the worst mistake I've ever made. I found a coffee shop. I put my life savings in, not just my life savings, my dad's. I lost, not my dad's life savings, but I lost my dad over 100 grand. I lost myself because I had a betting shop as well. So in the early years, I sold the betting. I knew that gambling and betting was going online. I had a physical shop, so I sold it to Corals for 345,000. So I had a bit of savings, even though with the self-storage setup, and betting a hole in my pocket. So I set up a coffee shop. It got out of because I thought, liqueur coffee, right? Okay, let's get a license. Wait a sec, I've got a license. Let's have a bar. Wait a second, if we're having a bar, we might as well be a restaurant. So we kitted it out. 320 grand downstairs was a shop fitting cost. Then upstairs for the kitchen, we spent God knows how much on the bloody kitchen. Oh, sorry, and it was 18 months of sheer hell. I'm rubbish at managing people. Imagine managing. I think we had like 26 under 20s or around that age.
Yeah.
There was having arguments, there was getting together, it was an absolute nightmare. And honestly, Jonathan, it got that bad where I actually thought one day, this has got to change. My life has got to change. What would, I feel a failure to my wife, I feel a failure to my kid, and I'm like, they're looking up to me and they want me to succeed as a businessman and somebody to look up to. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to end it. I'm going to drive off a cliff, and that's it. And I don't get me wrong, I only had that thought for like 10 minutes or so, but it was a real sobering thought because I felt like an absolute loser. And I thought, right, okay, something's got to change here. I've got to change. I've got to be a better person. And that's when I started delving into all my podcasts, my books, reading, everything I could get my hands on, because I thought, I can never be in this position again. I never, ever want to feel like a failure. As business owners, you take it all on, and I couldn't sleep because during the daytime I was running storage. At nighttime, because I was the only person in the company, so it was all on me. I was doing the cleaning and everything. And then the restaurant, I was trying to manage 26 staff members, which I couldn't do. And I just like that guy who we bought the self-storage from, I didn't understand the principles of a business. Like I'm with my food, I'm like, there's a real nice restaurant in Beverly called the Westwood. You can't get in there for months. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to buy ingredients like they do. So I found out where they bought all their stuff from, and I bought all their stuff. But the problem is I couldn't charge as much as them because I wasn't in the same area. And so my profit margins were a lot smaller, and I didn't understand these basic things. So I got rid of it. I managed to sell the business for 125,000 deferred consideration. Hated it. Over 18 months, I lost all my life savings, and not only that, I lost all my confidence because it was in the center of Beverly. Everybody knew it was my place, and everybody could see it was dead. There was nobody in, and so I felt like such a failure.
And that always starts a downward spiral as well. When no one goes somewhere, no one wants to go somewhere.
Yeah. Self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? And I look back now, it was the worst 18 months of my life, but looking back, without that 18 months, there's no way I'd have been where I am now, because it proper motivates you to want to make sure that you're not in that position again. And I thought, right, there's no way I want to feel like an absolute loser, an imposter anymore. And I was really motivated just to continue down that path to try and to not just better my life, but also my family's as well. And the great thing is, fast forward like 10 years, we're in a very fortunate position where we can do a lot for our family members and stuff. The problem is good and bad things happen to us every single day of the week, but at the time we don't know which is which. So it felt like a really bad time, but it was a really, really good time in hindsight. And the good times can feel good at the time, but they can ultimately have a net negative on your life. And so that's why I never get too emotional or in the moment, because we don't really know how it's going to play out. It could play out amazing. It could play out rubbish. We don't know.
If you were talking now to someone who's thinking about buying a business and they're sort of sitting on the fence, what sort of conversation would you have with them?
I would say that it's a net win whatever happens, because you learn and you educate yourself so much. Because I've learned so much more about my own business and how to apply my accounts, making sure we've got management accounts all the time. And don't get me wrong, we had management accounts already, but I never realized how important the little things were and to have in order. And so I can take the learnings and the processes from buying a business into my own business when we do eventually sell it. So if anybody's on the fence, I think that as long as you've got the correct mentor, then you've got all the answers there. You just need to ask the right questions.
Every problem that you're going to encounter buying a business has already been solved by someone else. Someone else has already figured out what you need to do. Someone else has already made the mistakes. There's no reason why you need to go and do them all over again.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why we've talked about the inner circle, and that's why I feel like I need to be in that, because again, it's surrounding yourself with people who think bigger than you. It motivates me to be more forward thinking like them sort of people as well. So I think community is really, really
and just
important.
For clarity, the Inner Circle group is our special mastermind group for people who've already bought a business. So the qualifying criteria to get into the Inner Circle group is you've already done a deal. So in Mastermind, we teach you how to buy your first business and we hold your hand through the process. And then the Inner Circle, you've already done it at least once. And now you want to have that peer group of people who are the same as you. They're doing a buy and build, they're going bigger, they're looking at the exit, they're raising larger amounts of money, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I suppose that they're like action I mean, I'm not saying that people in the mastermind are action takers, but they're proven action takers where, again, similar to you, I've got a course and it's about self-storage, and there's so many people who buy the course and don't do anything with it. And some people don't even open up the course, and I can't understand why people don't do it. It's almost like they think, oh, well, I've done what I'm supposed to do. I bought the course, and therefore that's it. I'll be able to open self-storage. I'll be able to buy a business. And I don't understand then why people don't take action. And some people get amazing results. Like I got amazing message from someone yesterday. And then some people just don't even open the course, and they can never really understand.
But isn't the secret of most things implementation? It's not just having the idea, it's actually going out and doing it. Dean, it's been amazing talking to you. Let's get you back next year to find out what's happened with acquisition number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Get that £10 million revenue.
Absolutely. We're going to hold you to it. So it's been great talking to you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.